Chapter 13 of Among the Pond People. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Among the Pond People by Clara Dillingham PIERSON. The Oldest Dragonfly Nymph. When the Oldest Dragonfly Nymph felt that the wings under her skin were large enough, she said good by to her water friends and crawled slowly up the stem of a tall cat tail. All the other Dragon Fly Nymphs crowded around her and wished that their wings were more nearly ready, and the larvæ talked about the time when they would become nymphs. The oldest Nymph, the one who was going away, told them that if they would be good little larvæ and eat a great deal of plain food, and take care not to break any of their legs, or to hurt either of their short, stiff little feelers, they would some day be fine great nymphs like her. Then she crawled slowly up the cat-tail stem, and when she drew the 10th and last joint of her body out of the water, her friends turned to each other and said, "She is really gone." They felt so badly about it that they had to eat something at once to keep from crying. The oldest Nymph now stopped breathing water and began to breathe air. She waited to look at the pond before she went any farther. She had never seen it from above, and it looked very queer to her. It was beautiful and shining, and because the sky above it was cloudless, the water was a most wonderful blue. There was no wind stirring, so there were no tiny waves to sparkle and send dancing bits of light here and there. It was one of the very hot and still summer days, which Dragon Flies like best. A sad look came into the Nymph's great eyes as she stood there. "The pond is beautiful," she said, "but when one looks at it from above, it does not seem at all homelike." She shook her three-cornered head sadly, and rubbed her eyes with her forelegs. She thought she should miss the happy times in the mud with the other children. A Virgin Dragon Fly lighted on a cat-tail next to hers. She knew it was a Virgin Dragon Fly because he had black wings folded over his back and there were shimmering green and blue lights all over his body and wings. He was very slender and smaller than she. "Good morning," said he. "Are you just up?" "Yes," said she, looking bashfully down at her forefeet. She did not know how to behave in the air, it was so different from the water. "Couldn't have a finer day," said he. "Very glad you've come. Excuse me, there is a friend to whom I must speak." Then he flew away with another Virgin Dragon Fly. "Hurry up and get your skin changed," said a voice above her, and there was a fine great fellow floating in the air over her head. "I'll tell you a secret when you do." Dragon Flies care a great deal for secrets, so she quickly hooked her 12 sharp claws into the cat-tail stem, and unfastened her old skin down the back, and wiggled and twisted and pulled until she had all her 6 legs and the upper part of her body out. This made her very tired, and she had to rest for a while. The old skin would only open down for a little way by her shoulders, and it was hard to get out through such a small place. Next she folded her legs close to her body, and bent over backward, and swayed this way and that until she had drawn her long, slender body from its outgrown covering. She crawled away from the empty skin and looked it over. It kept the shape of her body, but she was surprised to find how fast she was growing slender. Even then, and she had been out only a short time, she was much longer and thinner than she had been, and her old skin looked much too short for her. "How styles do change," she said. "I remember how proud I was of that skin when I first got it, and now I wouldn't be seen in it." Her beautiful gauzy wings with their dark veinings were drying and growing in the sunshine. She was weak now, and had them folded over her back like those of the Virgin Dragon Fly. But, as soon as she felt rested and strong, she meant to spread them out flat. The fine big Dragon Fly lighted beside her. "How are your wings?" said he.
"Almost dry," she answered joyfully, and she quivered them a little to show him how handsome they were. "Well," said he, "I'll tell you the secret now, and of course you will never speak of it. I saw you talking with a Virgin Dragon Fly. He may be all right, but he isn't really in our set, you know, and you'd better not have anything to do with him." "Thank you," she said, "I won't." She thought it very kind in him to tell her. He soon flew away, and as she took her first flight into the air, a second big Dragon Fly overtook her. "I'll tell you a secret," said he, "if you will never tell." "I won't," said she. "I saw you talking to a Virgin Dragon Fly a while ago. You may have noticed that he folded his wings back over his back. The big Dragon Flies never do this, and you must never be seen with yours so." "Thank you," she said. "I won't. But when they were drying I had to hold them in that way." "Of course," said he. "We all do things that we wouldn't afterward." Before long she began egg laying, flying low enough to touch her body to the water now and then, and drop a single egg. This egg always sank at once to the bottom, and she took no more care of it. A third big Dragon Fly came to her. "I want to tell you something," he said. "Put your head close to mine." She put her head close to his, and he whispered, "I saw you flying with my cousin a few minutes ago. I dislike to say it, but he is not a good friend for you. Whatever you do, don't go with him again. Go with me." "Thank you," said she, yet she began to wonder what was the matter. She saw that just as soon as she visited with anybody, somebody else told her that she must not do so again. Down in the pond they had all been friends. She wondered if it could not be so in the air. She rubbed her head with her right foreleg, and frowned as much as she could. You know she couldn't frown very much, because her eyes were so large and close together that there was only a small frowning place left. She turned her head to see if any one else was coming to tell her a secret. Her neck was very, very slender, and did not show much, because the back side of her head was hollow and fitted over her shoulders. No other Dragon Fly was near. Instead, she saw a Swallow swooping down on her. She sprang lightly into the air, and the Swallow chased her. When he had his beak open to catch her as he flew, she would go backward or sidewise without turning around. This happened many times, and it was well for her that it was so, for the Swallow was very hungry, and if he had caught her, well, she certainly would have never told any of the secrets she knew. The Swallow quite lost his patience and flew away grumbling. "I won't waste any more time," he said, "on trying to catch somebody who can fly backward without turning around. Ridiculous way to fly." The Dragon Fly thought it an exceedingly good way, however, and was even more proud of her wings than she had been. "Legs are all very well," she said to herself, "as far as they go, and one's feet would be of very little use without them, but I like wings better. Now that I think of it," she added, "I haven't walked a step since I began to fly. I understand better the old saying, 'Make your wings save your legs.' They certainly are very good things to stand on when one doesn't care to fly." Night came, and she was glad to sleep on the under side of a broad leaf of a pickerel weed. She awakened feeling stupid and lazy. She could not think what was the matter, until she heard her friends talking about the weather. Then she knew that Dragon Flies are certain to feel so on dark and wet days. "I don't see what difference that should make," she said. "I'm not afraid of rain. I've always been careless about getting my feet wet, and it never hurt me any." "Ugh!" said one of her friends. "You've never been wet in spots, or hit on one wing by a great raindrop that has fallen clear down from a cloud. I had a raindrop hit my second knee once, and it has hurt me ever since. I have only 5 good knees left, and I have to be very careful about lighting on slippery leaves." It was very dull. Nobody seemed to care about anybody or anything.
The fine big Dragon Flies, who had been so polite to her the day before, hardly said "Good morning" to her now. When she asked them questions they would say nothing but "Yes," or "No," or "I don't know," and one of them yawned in her face. "Oh, dear!" she said. "How I wish myself back in the pond where the rain couldn't wet me. I'd like to see my old friends and some of the dear little larvæ. I wish more of the Nymphs would come up." She looked all around for them, and as she did so she saw the shining back shell of the Snapping Turtle showing above the shallow water. "I believe I'll call on him," she said. "He may tell me something about my old friends, and anyway it will cheer me up." She lighted very carefully on the middle of his back shell and found it very comfortable. "Good morning," said she. "Have you—" "No," snapped he. "I haven't, and I don't mean to." "Dear me," said she. "That is too bad." "I don't see why," said he. "Is there any particular reason why I should?" "I thought you might just have happened to," said she, "and I should like to know how they are." "What are you talking about?" snapped he. "I was going to ask if you had seen the Dragon Fly children lately," she said, and as she spoke she made sure that she could not slip. She felt perfectly safe where she was, because she knew that, no matter how cross he might be, he could not reach above the edges of his back shell. "Well, why didn't you say so in the first place?" he snapped, "instead of sitting there and talking nonsense. They are all right. A lot of the Nymphs are going into the air today." Now that he had said a few ugly things, he began to feel better natured. "You've changed a good deal since the last time I saw you." "When was that?" asked she. "It was one day when I came remarkably near sitting down on a lot of you Dragon Fly children," he chuckled. "You were a homely young Nymph then, and you stuck out your lower lip at me." "Oh," said she, "did you see us?" "Of course I did," answered he. "Haven't I eyes? I'd have sat down on you, too, if I hadn't wanted to see you scramble away. The larvæ always are full of mischief, but then they are young. You Nymphs were old enough to know better." "I suppose we were," she said. "I didn't think you saw us. Why didn't you tell us?" "Oh," said the Snapping Turtle, "I thought I'd have a secret. If I can't keep a secret for myself, I know that nobody can keep it for me. Secrets can swim faster than any fish in the pond if you once let them get away from you. I thought I'd better not tell. I might want to sit on you some other time, you know." "You'll never have the chance," said she with a twinkle in her big eyes. "It is my turn to sit on you." And after that they were very good friends, as long as she sat on the middle of his shell. End of Chapter 13. Recording by Sharon Kilmer, Rio Medina, Texas.